Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today. With us is Bloomberg News equities reporter Nora Melinda. I'm Emily Grafeo, here with Tim Senovic. Nora, what are you looking at?
Well, let's take a look at Newmont. This is ticker NEM, and this is a precious metals company. Market cap is about $63 billion, and they're based in Denver, Colorado. We're seeing shares that are lower this afternoon. We're seeing shares that are down about 6%. This is after market close yesterday. They said that their CFO, Karyn Ovelmen, was going to be resigning from her role. We have Peter Wexler coming in as interim CFO rather. But this is until a permanent successor is named, and they weren't really expecting this, which was definitely a surprise. That's what much of the street is saying. BMO analysts writing that we're somewhat surprised that she'd only been in the role for about 2 years. But they do know that the average tenure of a S&P 500 CFO was around 5 years. So this was definitely a stark, surprising departure here.
July 24th is when we'll get second quarter results from Newmont. So keep an eye out for those in just about a couple of weeks. Newmont shares, ticker NEM, are lower on this Tuesday. What else are you watching?
Also looking at Trade Desk, that's ticker TTD, and we're seeing shares that are rallying right now. It's a $39.9 billion market cap company. It's an online advertising firm. It's hitting its highest level since February, and this is after it was added to the S&P 500. It'll be added ahead of trading on July 18th. They're saying that this inclusion is an additional confirmation of Trade Desk's very impressive fundamentals that's coming from Evercore analysts today. So we are seeing shares pairing a little bit, but definitely still pointing higher, up about 7.8% right now as we speak. But if you look on a broader scale, companies down about 31% so far this year.
But still index inclusion.
Yeah, still index inclusion.
Okay.
So interesting.
You never really know how they make.
Can you explain this, Emily?
The significance.
And like the optimism around this? It has to do with, okay, well now funds have to buy this stock, right?
Right. Visibility.
Yeah. So there's like billions of dollars, it might even be trillions of dollars now, that track the S&P 500 through various index funds. And so what happens is once it's announced that a company is going to be added, there's a little bit of time between the announcement and when all of those big passive funds have to buy.
Absolutely.
And so in that interim period, hedge funds buy it, anticipating that it's going to go up. And so there's a little bit of like an index arbitrage trade going on.
We'll see if there's some movement.
In anticipation of big buying later on. There's buying now.
Well, we can't talk about stock movers without talking about all that's going on in the banking space. We know that earnings really kicked off this morning. So I'm looking at shares of Wells Fargo. It's among one of the worst performing stocks in the S&P 500. I'm actually looking at the KBW Bank Index. That's ticker BKX. And it's down about 2% right now. And we're seeing Wells Fargo and State Street, some of the worst performing stocks in that index. But Wells Fargo, ticker WFC, is lower after reporting net interest income for the second quarter that missed the average analyst estimate. It lowered its full year guidance for net income and net interest income after another quarter of tepid growth. So they're saying that a lot of this lowered guidance will be on the mind of the market with the shares under pressure today, especially after rallying over the past month. So seeing the stock taking a bit of a breather right now. But when you do put that against some of the other results we got from like Citigroup, for instance, that's one of the best performing stocks right now in that banking index. It's rising to its highest level since 2008.
That's wild.
Insane, right? The comparison here, it's saying that it would ramp up stock buybacks following a strong result in the regulatory stress test that we all have kind of been following here. So
Wells Fargo, WFC US down about 6%. JP Morgan reported earlier today down about 0.9%. And Citi, as you mentioned, highest since 2008, up 4.2% as we speak.
On a tear.
It makes tomorrow even more exciting, right? Because there's not a consensus of like, how are all the banks doing? We've seen this bifurcation.
So Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, if we look forward a little bit.
Most definitely.
Those are the big ones.
Okay.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.